All right, I'm so excited for another episode here. With me today, I have Tylisha. Hi, Tylisha.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. I'm so excited to have you here with me. Oh my goodness. Finally, we made this happen.
I know.
So I first met Tylisha virtually through the Black Entrepreneurship Day. Oh my goodness, that was so awesome. Put on by Damon John with a bunch of other folks that was a part of that. I'm so excited. And there I met Tylisha, the owner of SpenDebt. What's up, Tylisha?
How are you? How are you doing today? Thank you for having me on your show. I'm so excited to talk with you today.
Yes, I'm so excited. So I'm sitting there. First of all, that whole platform was wonderful. And I can't believe how long I stayed on, because all of you that came on were really, I was really engaged, and I was really excited for what happened through that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I saw you, and not just were you one of the winners, it's what you were doing, what you were awarded for in the business that you call SpenDebt. So tell us what SpenDebt is.
Yes, so SpenDebt is a financial technology company that simply helps people pay off debt every time they swipe their debit card or have a banking transaction. So whether in debt or not, we know people will continue spending money. And so SpenDebt was created to help people help themselves. Every time you swipe your debit card, you can define what that micropayment is that's deducted on top of every transaction. So call it 50 cents, call it $1. You go to Starbucks, get your cup of coffee, $5, your micropayments, $1. Total transaction would be $6. So $5 would go to Starbucks, $1 would go to your SpenDebt account. And again, every time you have a transaction, this happens. And then we send all of those micropayments as a one-time payment on behalf of you, the user, to your creditor of choice every single month.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So let me ask you, was this a problem of yours that you wanted to solve, or did you identify, like many of us, others that needed support in this area? To your point, the card is still going to slide, right? So why not leverage where you can in an area that you know that's going to happen? So was that your story, or or not? And then you just saw it as an opportunity?
So we were our first customers. My husband and I co-founded this company. And so both engineers by degree. After college graduation, we found ourselves in over $100,000 worth of consumer debt. Mm-hmm. So we, graduated engineers. Oh, let me go get a car because mama, I made it. Mm-hmm. Let me get the new TV. We had student loan debt as well, right? So it wasn't just totally just frivolous spending, I'll say, right? And so then we were like, okay, well, let's start trying to save money because we're adults and that's what you're supposed to do. But we realized, like, just growing up, we really never had that financial education piece. Yeah. And so we were paying minimum payments because that's what we thought we were supposed to do, right? Like, here's the payment that the creditor is asking you to pay. Oh yeah, I can afford that. Yes. Check, right? But no one ever told us, like, no, if you stick to the minimum payment, you're going to be in debt for a much longer time, and you're going to pay much more than the original loan amount that you took out, right? That's and so as we were saving money, we still had this mountain of debt. And so we were like, okay, we're losing, like we're missing something. Yes. So we ended up hiring a financial advisor, and he helped us put our debts in order. We came up with a time frame of when we wanted to get out of debt. And for us, it was one recognition of how much we were spending on food, entertainment, just crazy spending, to say the least, right?
So wait, so first of all, you and your husband as the first, I'll call it, clients, it sounds like when you were going through the process, it was first, let's become aware of what we are doing, right?
Yes,
those habits, and how do you modify from there?
Yes.
Okay.
That was first and foremost. And honestly, we didn't realize, but that was like a huge step in our relationship, honestly. Like, it put down the walls, because before it was, you're taking care of your debt, I'm taking care of mine. But then when we put it together and actually listed it out, it was like, whoa, like we have a lot going on here, right?
Yes.
And it was a level of transparency that we just hadn't had yet, right? And so it was like, okay, we recognize this is all of our debt together. We're in this together. Here's the list. And so from there, it was like, okay, we got a plan. Let's start tackling it one debt at a time. And so for us, we took the smallest loan first, right?
Okay.
And so then we started putting extra money towards that. Like, okay, instead of spending $500 on going out to eat every month, spend $250, you know, and then put the other $250 towards that first debt. Right. And I'm telling you, when we saw zero balance on that first one, talk about motivation, okay? Motivation. Yes. Which is why that's one of the things we tell people too, is like, not only use SpenDebt, but like try to tackle your smallest debt first, because it's a quick win. Yes. And it'll give you that motivation, because a lot of people, depending on how much debt they have, they're blinded by all the debt. They can't see past it. They don't know where to start. They don't know what to do. That's start with the smallest debt first, tackle that one first. And then when you see a zero balance, then it's like, oh, okay, I can do this. This is manageable. And then it doesn't mean you pay off that first one and then that's free money for you to go spend if you have another payment or debt or, balance. And so no, you just put whatever you were putting on that first one and move it to the second. And it's like a snowball effect. If people heard of the debt snowball effect.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. So, okay. So you and your husband, you go to this advisor, you become aware of what you're doing. You're like, oh my gosh, we have all this debt. Together we can do this. And you begin to do this. When did it translate into, wait a minute, this now is SpenDebt. Like this is going to be SpenDebt. How did it transfer to that?
When we became debt free, we started sharing. I mean, early on, right, when we started tackling and getting zero balances on some of our debt, we started telling people like, hey, like we just paid off our car, we just paid off this credit card. But it wasn't really until we became completely debt free when we really started sharing our story, our testimony with other friends and family, and really realized then that there were so many other people suffering from the same thing. And a lot of our friends are engineers just like us, so they could afford it. But again, it was that financial education piece. And sometimes it was just, they just didn't know how. They didn't know how to do it. And so God actually placed it on my husband's heart to start SpenDebt, to help people, like I said, help themselves, because they're going to keep spending money. So help them pay a little bit towards their debt as they keep spending money. And that's when SpenDebt was born.
I love it. So when you say debt free, is that completely debt free, meaning no mortgage as well?
That means no mortgage. That means debt free. So let me tell you.
Yes.
So we bought a house in 2012. We bought a house. We found out we were pregnant and expecting in 2015. We actually decided, again, evaluating our finances and everything. We weren't even in the market of thinking about selling our home. But at that time, we decided what was best for us was to sell our home based off of how much we knew we could get off of it, to completely get rid of the rest of our debt that was lingering before our daughter came, and be able to save an additional a large sum of money. So again, that was our story, what worked for us. And so we sold our house. 3,000 square foot home, 4 bedrooms for 2 people. Collecting dust. But that's what worked for us. We sold our home, and that cleared out the rest of our remaining debt. We were on our journey for, I would say, about 6 to 7 years. We had paid off our credit cards. We had paid off our cars before we got married in 2013. So we had gotten rid of a lot. There was still, I would say, a couple student loan debt that we still had. So we were like, let's just completely start over, like debt free, like no mortgage, no credit cards, no nothing, no, you don't owe anybody except for your rent, right? Because now we're renting. And that, again, that was the decision that we decided to do. And that's what we did.
Well, so first of all, Tylisha, I love your joy and excitement that comes to the screen. Those of you that may listen to this, if you can see the joy, those that are listening may also have to look at the YouTube. If you can see how she's talking about this story, it's amazing. I absolutely love it. And what I love that you continue to say as you were telling it, that is what worked for us, because personal finance is that, right? It's personal. Everybody's story is unique to whomever story it is. So I like that you're saying that, because that may not work for everybody in the same way. So you have to evaluate what works for you. So I love that you're saying it.
That's right. So, that's right. And me and my husband were on one accord, right? And so like some of our friends, I'm sure, looked at us crazy, like, wait, like, because again, we came from single parent homes, like you have a house, like you made it, right? And it's like, but we're living paycheck to paycheck to pay for it, you know? And it's just like, it's not worth it. So yeah. Anyway, we became debt free and were able to look past the debt because it was no longer there. And then that's when SpenDebt came about. And not only SpenDebt, we were able to then focus on our physical health, right? So then my husband started doing bodybuilding competitions. I was running half marathons. It was things that we never even considered because he was working all the time. He couldn't do all this, right? He didn't have the time to do it.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
I love it. So then you say SpenDebt was born. So first tell us when that was, and then describe what SpenDebt is.
Yes. So SpenDebt actually came about. We started the company in 2016. Okay. And mind you, a year before, we were expecting, getting rid of our house, downsizing to an apartment, like a lot of changes. Okay. Mind you, my husband, both engineers by degree, he decided to walk away from corporate America. Wow. So he decided.
Before you started SpenDebt?
Before SpenDebt, he wanted to go into a home healthcare business.
Okay.
Long story short, my father-in-law had a massive heart attack, or stroke. I'm sorry, not heart attack, but a stroke. And after taking care of him for his last days, like last 30 days, like from that point on, my husband said, he has a heart of gold. I always knew like long-term corporate America just wasn't for him. He was doing well, but it kept hitting the ceiling. Like he had so much more to give. Yeah. So anyway, he left corporate America and started this home healthcare business. Engineer. He's an electrical engineer by degree, home healthcare. Okay. So we went through certifications and all these things, expecting a baby. And then at that time, SpenDebt came about in his head. And he was like, babe, what do you think about this idea? I actually put it in like an Excel spreadsheet to just figure out how the mechanics would really work. And I was like, yeah, like it seems like a cool idea.
Yeah, that whole engineer, right? And you were like, okay, wait, this happened. Right. Okay.
He's the visionary, I'm the doer, and I was like, this, like this could work. And he with just the idea, he became a semifinalist in one of Damon John's, let me tell you how God works, in 2016, okay? Damon John's competitions, Miller Lite Tap the Future competition. Okay. He was a semifinalist there with just an idea. We didn't have a beta, anything for SpenDebt. And so anyway, it just started taking off. It started getting a lot of traction. I was like, okay, babe, you have home health care, you have SpenDebt coming about, and then we have a baby. So you gotta pick one of your babies, because then we're gonna have this real physical child, right? And so then that's when we stuck with SpenDebt. And so again, it's as simple as you register your bank account that you want to pay from. So call it like your Bank of America's checking account. And then you tell us where you want those micro payments to go. What debt are you trying to pay off? And it's not just debt in the sense of when people think about student loans or mortgages or auto loans. It can be everyday bills. Okay. So one thing we've noticed since the pandemic, right, is that there's millions of Americans struggling to keep their lights on, struggling to pay their mortgage. So it can be as simple as utility bills that you're trying to pay something towards, right, versus nothing. So it's not just consumer debt, it can be your everyday bills as well.
All right, so let me walk through it. So so let's just say the person has a bank account, whichever bank that's with. So let me step back. SpenDebt is an app, right? So
SpenDebt is an app, or also it's available on the web.
So app or online. So they have an account with SpenDebt for which they need to connect their bank account. This is the bank account that also is connected to a card. So they're using that card that's aligned to the bank account to make the purchases. Okay, I'm glad that's a great distinction. So that bank account, that card that's tied to that bank account is connected to the SpenDebt account. Okay, so do they also need to connect their debt, whatever that is, the light bill, the credit?
So then they have to tell us where that payment needs to go. Okay. So they'll enter in, the address, the name of the let's say it's your student loan, for example, right? Sally Mae, which I don't know if she's still around, but anyway, call it Sally Mae.
Whoever,
right? Whoever it is, enter your account information and provide the address. And so then and it's not just every time you physically swipe your debit card. Let's say you have
Oh,
auto bill pay set up. So it's
oh,
every banking transaction that comes out of that checkings account that you
okay.
have connected.
And
So
then,
it can be a swipe of your debit card or a banking transaction that occurs.
and then the amount that goes to SpenDebt, if you will, for purposes of bill paying, is it up to the dollar or is it a set amount? That
Great question.
every time.
It's not round up. It's
Okay.
a set amount that the user has control of changing at
Okay.
any given time. So our customers typically average $1.
Okay.
So every time they buy something, an additional dollar comes out. Or
Okay.
it could be as low as 50 cents. It can be up to however much you want. But I'll tell you, like some people are like, yeah, let me put $5 down. And then they're very surprised at how often they spend money or have transactions. And then they're like, you know what, $5 every time I spend money, maybe not right now, right? So let me bring it back down to $1. And so then they reduce it. But the user has control. That way they know every time, what's coming out.
And that's what I tell people as well with regular savings, is that I'd rather for you to start small and increase and continue the incremental increase versus starting large because you had a good month or something and bring it down because it's like, wait, I can't keep, that's not sustainable.
Right.
So, okay, so let's just say it's the dollar per transaction. Do they have to get a certain amount in their SpenDebt account before you make that payment? Or do you make it so you now $1 in their SpenDebt and now you send off $1?
Whatever's in their account at the end of the month, we send that off.
Okay,
and
so
what's
monthly.
great, yes, monthly,
Okay.
monthly. And what's great about SpenDebt is that the user doesn't have access to that money. Like once it's deducted, it's in your SpenDebt account, but you don't touch it. So which is a big difference from, like, let's say Bank of America Keep the Change program, which people are familiar with, right? They use the roundup method. They put your change aside into this little savings account. But guess what? Tylisha still has access to that money. So if there's $100 at the end of the month, I can move it back over to my checkings account. And it's like, no, not with SpenDebt. Once you tell us where it's going, that's where it's going every single month, regardless of what amount is in there. It's going to your debt account.
Okay, now these other places, debt places that hold the debt for these various different individuals, do you have to have SpenDebt have to have a relationship with them for purposes of making transactions on behalf of other individuals?
No. So, and we actually SpenDebt, we have a partnership with Capital One. So Capital One is our payment processor on the back end. So we don't handle money. Like, no, that's out. That's not our will shop. That's not our expertise. So early on, before actually we were able to even start this business, we were out to find a banking partner. And so Capital One is our payment processor on the back end. So they manage that. So they have all of those relationships.
I love it. So, so now let's get back to the app. The app, is it on Android and Apple? And is there
yes, both.
It's on both.
It's free to download. It's free to download, and the first month is on us. So we like to give people, people want to try things, especially when it's related to their money. And so the first month is on us, and then after that, it's a $3.99 monthly subscription fee.
Monthly subscription, and can they unsubscribe at any time?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
All right. Great.
And then from that point, obviously, if there's still money in your SpenDebt account, then you would receive that money back. Like, yeah.
You had a situation where anybody has become debt free since they start SpenDebt. Money has gone into their account. They can't take it back, but they've paid off the debt. What would happen in a situation like that? So I have no money to go. Oh, I think it's like light bill or it's other things that can go.
Yeah, it's other things. So we've had people who've started focusing on their student loan debts, and they've paid that off, and then they moved to their credit cards, and they want to pay that. We had someone who's paying off their boat lease mortgage loan, and so like I said, it's you can use it for many different types of standard debt or like your everyday bills if you choose to.
And is the user responsible for letting you know? Well, I would assume
yes,
but I'll ask it. They're responsible for letting you know when they've done and not to redirect to another place.
Yes,
as
absolutely.
I was asking that question, I'm like,
we don't have access, right, to your account in that way to see. Oh yeah, you have $20 left. And yeah, like we leave that up to the user to provide that feedback to us.
Okay, great. So now SpenDebt started 2016. It's 2020. I again met you when you received this wonderful award. I'll let you share whatever you're privy to sharing in regards to that. Can you talk a little bit about that? Why do you think you were selected? Was it something that you're trying to do to evolve SpenDebt? Like how did that all come about?
Yes, so we were selected as one of the finalists for Daymond John's first annual Black Entrepreneurs Day business grant. And it was actually sponsored by NAACP as well. But as a part of that program, Daymond John was not only trying to highlight celebrities who have ventured off and, have their own entrepreneur journeys, if you will, and to provide insight to upcoming entrepreneurs like myself, but also to recognize 9 businesses, small businesses such as SpenDebt, and provide them with $25,000 in a business grant. And I would say for us, I feel like since the pandemic, we have extended our platform to go directly to businesses and offer it as a payment solution for businesses. So not only just going direct to consumers, but also businesses, because we realized in this time, businesses were looking for creative ways to get money back from customers, right? Yes. For services rendered. And so whether it was the full payment, which ideally they would love, or even partial payments. And so SpenDebt was a creative way to provide, to their customers in order for them to start getting some type of payment back. And so from doing that, we actually secured in about 2 months' time, a partnership with one of the largest debt collection agencies out of Minnesota. And so again, like when you think of debt collection, it's harassing phone calls, and they're trying to change that narrative. And so SpenDebt is a digital way and creative way to collect payments from their customers.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. When I saw this story, and again, I was like tuned in from the beginning of that day, from the beginning to the end, and I'm like putting my comment in there. We need to have this every month. I love this. Like, even
it was awesome.
Like, it was great to highlight you all and the funds that you received from it, but the stories and the lessons learned and hearing, the various different ones that were awarded was just fantastic. I literally okay, I'm going to sign off now. Okay, I'm going to sign off now. Before you know it, I think it was like 11:15 before.
It was really long, huh?
It was, but it was so
but it was, they were dropping nuggets.
All through the entire thing. So that's great. So the funds that you were able to get will helped you to evolve or pivot. I won't say pivot because you're still doing
we're extending,
it just helped you to expand what you were doing in another area. So that's great. So you already talked about the fact that both of you are engineers by trade, and you are still working, right, while you're doing SpenDebt. I see, like, as I watch you, I'm like, oh my gosh, it looks like you live and breathe SpenDebt. How do you, when you're at work, are you working remotely? Are you going into a location? How do you manage it all?
So right now, with COVID, I'm working remotely. So from that perspective, it's a little bit easier, but honestly, I'm on calls most of the day, right? And so I say it's a little bit easier, but not necessarily, but pre-COVID, it's just when you get home or checking, or lunchtime, checking my emails, responding to things, scheduling meetings, I'm pitching across the nation, right, to get funding because we're a bootstrap company. And so it's like your weekends or taking a vacation day if you got to go to California to pitch, just making it work.
Like you are making it work. So you and your husband, I understand both of you co-founders, right?
Yes.
Do you have certain roles and he have certain roles, or do you just do whatever's need to be done? One of the two of you do it. Like, how do you work that out with you still working during the day and him full-time in the business, right?
Yep. He's full-time in the business.
You have different roles.
Yeah. So yes, we do have defined roles, but sometimes they overlap because we got to help each other, for some things. But he was definitely, behind tech development and even, additional or future developments that are underway, like working hand in hand with the tech team. He was the visionary, obviously, of SpenDebt. So that's, and then trying to secure funding as well. We're both pitching, and trying to get funding for the business. And then I came in from a marketing perspective. And so just trying to get our presence out there, our name out there. And like I said, we overlap on some things behind the scenes, but for the most part, it was like, he was like operations, technical. And I was like, okay, marketing, like now we have a product. Yeah. Let's try to go market it and sell it to people. So yeah, that was kind of the distinction.
I absolutely love it. I think I love not even more, but I love just as much your passion. I literally think I can talk to you like for, the next few hours, but, so do you receive any testimonies from clients that have used SpenDebt and to your earlier point where like, I didn't realize I was doing as much spending as I was, when you were taking $5 per transaction. But in the reverse, not in the reverse, but do you have clients sharing like, I'm so glad that I have this because I was able to knock out that debt without even realizing it by my transactions? Do you talk a little bit about what you hear clients talking about?
Sure. So as I mentioned though, before early on, the initial feedback was like, let me reduce my micropayment because I didn't realize how much I was spending, which is a good thing because it's a reality check, right? And just letting you know, like, yeah, you're still spending money and you owe money. So again, just validating the concept. But then we received feedback, like, because a lot of times when people think of finances and getting them under control or whatever, it may just seem like a daunting task. And I have to have a degree in finance. And they're like, yeah, with SpenDebt, I don't have to worry about that. I just set it up 3 steps and then I go spend money, which is what I've been doing. I can do that. I got it. Right. Yeah. And so we've gotten that feedback. We've gotten that. Oh, there was one individual actually one month who didn't realize how much they had spent and was nervous because they didn't think that they'd have enough money to put their minimum payment. And they actually didn't put their minimum payment. SpenDebt paid their minimum payment for it and covered them because they had spent so much money. So again, it was like, thank you, Jesus, that I was using this, right? Because they were concerned.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, I mean, the feedback that we've received has been pretty amazing. And then it's also, we've actually considered that into like additional features that we want to roll out. Because like today, you can only, link one checkings account to one type of debt. And so we've gotten feedback, well, what if I want to pay multiple? But again, for us, we think there is benefit in just focusing on one debt. So like we talked about, you can get your quick win, right, first, and then tackling the next one versus putting a little in all of them. And then it's like, when am I ever going to get out of debt?
Exactly. So, and it seems like, and then again, I think the other thing I love about it is the awareness of how often they're making transactions with this account is probably the mind-blowing part. At least I see that a lot with clients that I work with. Like they don't realize it because a lot of it's being done in the head as opposed to writing it down and actually.
And then they lose track. Right? And then they're surprised at the end of the month.
Exactly.
It's like you spending money and how much you spend shouldn't be a surprise. Sorry.
Yes, exactly right. On your app or on the online version, are they able to see? Is that where they see? And is it by transaction, or do they see just at the end of the month how much is there?
Great question. So they have a dashboard, whether they're on the app or on our website, and the dashboard, it shows them how much is accumulating in their SpenDebt account. It shows them every transaction they have and then the micropayment coming out right by it. So, and then it'll show them like a trend right over the months, like on a monthly average, how many transactions are you having? How much money is going to your SpenDebt account? And then they can do like we have a prediction meter. So if I change my micropayment to $2 every transaction, and based off the average monthly transactions I have, I can pay down my debt a little faster. So yeah, we have all of those tools available for the user on their dashboard.
I absolutely love it. And so that $3.99 a month does not change on the number of transactions or the number of connections. Oh, absolutely.
We don't take a percentage off of how much money you spend. And it's an upfront monthly subscription. So again, you can know, and if you have a budget, you can budget it, or include it in your budget. And so yeah, that's taken up off the top at the beginning of each month, regardless of how many transactions you make in a given month.
All right, great. So Tylisha, oh my goodness, this has been Fantastic.
Yes.
So again, let people know. Well, before we tell them where they can find you and how they can get SpenDebt and all, what is
Sure.
the one thing that you would want to share? Given the fact that you and your husband are debt free, you are helping people pay off debt. Like you made it your business to do that. Like you could have.
Mm-hmm.
You both are engineers by trade. Your husband is in the other business that you mentioned. You could just focus on that. Why
Mm-hmm.
was it your mission to help others? And then and what do you have to say to people that have their toe like right there and they need to just make that next step?
My husband always says that generational curses stop with us. And so not only are we focused on that, but we want to help other people break those generational curses, whatever they may be. It may not be finances today, right? It may be something else, but we say that all generational curses stop with us. And so taking control of our finances was one of them. And as I mentioned, when we were in debt, we couldn't see past our debt. SpenDebt wouldn't be here today if we still had debt. And so it's more than just the debt. Like it frees up and opens up this whole new world. We went from 2 incomes down to 1, 2 engineering incomes down to 1. And when I tell you finances has never been an issue since that point of becoming debt free, managing on 1 income, because that's when you start up, you don't just start up making the big bucks, okay?
I'm 5 years into startup, and so I still understand. Yes.
Right. So let's just be clear. We went from 2 engineering incomes down to 1, increased our family, and another one on the way. Okay.
But are you expecting?
Yeah. So I mean, we have property now. We're investing. I mean, it opens up so much more. But again, what it ends up boiling down to is that we were determined that all generational curses stop with us. And so whatever we could do to help with that and to turn that into generational wealth and legacy for our child and children, soon to be children, that's our why. And that's what keeps us going every day. And truly, because we feel God placed it on my husband's heart. So he gave him a vision. We have a mission until he tells us otherwise. And it's to help other people just like us.
Yes. And you know what? A lot of people I find that's in this space, in the financial space, it's their story that drives. Like, I don't want people to have to deal with what I dealt with. And guess what? The hard part, I find, it's not actually making the transaction, connecting the dollar, connecting the account. It's the mind shift of getting ready to do it and actually executing. So
and that's huge. The mindset is huge, especially when you grow up and you hear, oh, you're always going to owe somebody. And that's fine if that's what you think. Yeah. That's how you want to operate. But for me and mine, it's like, no.
Exactly.
No, life doesn't have to be this way. And there's so much more to life. So.
There is. And I love the other thing that you said is about freeing, because a lot of people, and this is again going back to, I think the mind shift is when you think it's that way, you can't envision it to be something else. But realizing when you remove some things, that sometimes is the blocker for the bigger things. You know what I mean? So you and I hear you say this, and it's up to you if you want to be transparent about this, but you said you keep saying 2 engineering incomes, because people may not understand, like, that's huge. You know, I don't know if you want to put a number on that, but that is going from that to not knowing who's going to download the app, right? So I don't know if I don't know.
So combined, we were close to $200K a year.
And then you sliced that in half.
Yes.
Hoping that the downloads would make happen before the investments that you or grants that you were doing. So that's a big thing. So that in itself could bring about stress, but it translates into something different for you. So there you are. So then
and again, before he left his job, though, we were right there of being debt free. So had we cut our salaries in half, and then you have debt that's pretty much covering his salary, right, that you're getting rid of, the numbers wouldn't have made sense. The numbers wouldn't have made sense. And then also, I'd be remiss if I didn't say 2015 was our year of faith. It was the year of my husband leaving his job. We were expanding our family, but we said from that point on that we wouldn't miss tithing, offerings, regardless of what we brought in. And we haven't to this day. And when I tell you, like, finances and worrying about it's not an issue. It's not one of our problems today.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it is not one of our problems. So yeah,
You
it's
either have to
freeing.
have faith or you don't, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that's how, and exactly. And I'm a tither as well, so I get
yes.
that. Not, I mean, I know the listening, that's not everybody's story,
Yep,
but those
yep.
that are,
Again, my
you know what
story.
that means. It's our story,
Yes.
right? So I know what that means. So now we've talked so much about it, about you. We talked so much about SpenDebt. How can people find SpenDebt? What do you want to tell them? Where to go? What to do? Go ahead, drop it all down. And this will be in the show notes as well, but drop it all down.
Yes, so you can go online to our website at www.SpenDebt. So that's SpenDebt, and it's on my shirt if you can see it. I know it's kind of hard on this gray, but it's essentially spend and debt together, right? With just one D in the middle. And then we're also available in the iOS and Android stores. You can just search for SpenDebt. We're on all social media platforms. Search for SpenDebt. On Instagram, it's underscore SpenDebt, but everywhere else you can just find us with the at SpenDebt. So yeah. And then, like I mentioned, try it for free for 1 month. The first month is on us. Try it. If you don't like it, give us feedback, because we always want to learn, right, as we go. But try it for 1 month, and then after that, like I said, it's $3.99 a month from that point on, and help us help you spend away your debt.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. You are my girl. I love it. I love it. So thank you all for listening to another episode. You are so going. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed facilitating it with Tylisha. Tylisha, thank you again for being here. All the information she shared will be in the show notes about her background, as well as where you can find SpenDebt and how it's spelled, so you know to spell it correctly.
Yes.
When you put it in there, by everybody going to look for you, it'll populate for you. But we'll have all that information for you, and check them out. At the very least, she said, try them out for 30 days.
Yep.
All she shared, I'm sure you'll go past that. And I appreciate you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And if you enjoyed the show, make sure to share it with a friend and give us a thumbs up, and let us know if you like it. And if you didn't, let us know why, because we want to make sure we continue to bring you episodes that will help you along your financial journey.